This is After the Gridiron, a podcast featuring interviews with retired football players. If you're a fan of After the Gridiron, make sure you subscribe to the show to ensure that you won't miss an episode. Today's episode is sponsored by Symphonies. Symphonies is an online store that provides custom clothing and accessories. They have a number of quality products available at affordable prices. They offer custom, unique, funny, and inspirational products that you won't find anywhere else. So go to www.symphonies.ca to shop for your next purchase. And as a special offer for our listeners, enter promo code GRIDIRON to get 15% off your purchase. So there's no excuse not to check it out. Again, that's www.symphonies.ca. Symphonies. Great products, great prices.
Hello everyone, welcome to the show. I am your host, Lyle Green, and today we have as our guest Josh Booty. Josh is one of the kind of forgotten dual sport athletes. He played 3 full seasons, but seven seasons in total in the NFL, with spending time with Seattle, Cleveland, and Oakland. He was drafted in the 6th round of the 2001 draft by the Seahawks. But he also had some time in baseball. He had a 5-year baseball career. He was drafted in the 1st round, 5th overall in the 94 draft by the Marlins organization. And he also had some time at LSU, played a couple years at LSU as a Tiger. And in 2013, kind of rejuvenated his baseball career, spending time on the show The Next Knuckler, and actually won the show and got to spend time in spring training with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So, Josh, thanks for coming on and welcome to the show.
Man, thanks for having me. I look forward to this interview, man. It'll be a fun time.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to be fun, for sure. So, yeah, I'd like to start off by asking the guest to say something about them that most people probably wouldn't know about them.
Oh, man, from a sports perspective, you know, I don't know, but my favorite athlete ever is Tiger Woods, and I didn't play golf growing up. Oh, yeah. It's a good one. I watch Tiger like religiously, man. He's my favorite athlete of all time, and it's funny because people say some golfers aren't athletes, but you know what Tiger did for the sport is just amazing. And I've almost watched every shot he's ever hit, which is crazy. There's a story I've got about him. We were going up for like the high school Heisman Award back in the day in the 90s when we both were graduating the same year.
Yeah.
And it's called the Dial Award. And it was me and Tiger and a female swimmer, I think, and it was like for the high school Heisman Award. And I'm like, well, I was All-American in baseball and football, and that had never been done before from like USA Today first team baseball and football national team.
Yeah.
And MVP of football. And I'm like, how is anyone going to beat me in this high school Heisman? And then Tiger ended up winning the thing, and I came in second to Tiger, and I was like, who is this Tiger Woods
guy?
He must be good. And then, lo and behold, he's winning Masters, 3-4 years later than, after, I guess, his time at Stanford and all that. But I was very surprised that someone beat me in the high school Heisman because we had kind of put ourselves on the map down in Louisiana, but Tiger was
especially a golfer doing that, beating you.
I know, man. I mean, you had to be real good to be the high school Heisman winner, being I guess it was a Scholastic Sports like America award back then, and he won it, man. He was Tiger Woods even back then.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a great story. All right, so let's talk about how you got started in football. Obviously, you played a couple sports growing up, at least. So, talk about how you got started in football.
Yeah, my dad was a football player. He played at Mississippi State. My family's my mom and dad are both from Louisiana, but they had gone to Mississippi State. He had gone to Mississippi State to play football, and so I grew up kind of in a football home. He really loved football. He wasn't a baseball guy. I developed a passion for baseball as a young kid, but football was was what my dad had done. And so, I always knew that, but I enjoyed Little League and all that. But, when I got to 8th grade, my dad actually partnered with another gentleman from our hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, and started a high school program. So my dad actually kind of co-founded a high school, a private high school, Evangel Christian in Shreveport, Louisiana. And they built a coaching staff and started a high school football program. And ended up going out there to play. And they said we were going to throw the ball every down. No one else was doing it like that. And man, was it fun. We started doing things no one else was doing at the time. And we broke a ton of, national records along the way. But it was a brand new school that he formed when I was in 8th grade. And then I started my freshman year on the team and played, was kind of lucky. Got to play 4 years as a starter and, have probably as much fun as anybody could ever have in high school football. I mean, we threw it every down. I was in the shotgun. It was 4 and 5 wide receiver set. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great, definitely a great program to have for a quarterback to be able to throw all the time.
Oh man, it was so much fun. We had the wristbands and we went no huddle and we went, we do a lot of motion and stuff, but I was in the 9-yard shotgun. We called it 9 yards deep, and it was a semi punt formation. So it's a little bit different than what most do. Back in the early 90s or late 80s, man, everybody was running the ball and doing the veer and doing the the wing tee and all that, the stuff Nebraska was doing, the option and all that. And at high school, that was the easiest way for teams to really win and coach these young kids up. But we went the passing route and did it different. And man, no one could stop us.
Yeah, your dad, I guess, was ahead of the curve. And now you can see that that's all over college football, people throwing and doing the no huddle and all that. Yeah. So your dad was definitely ahead of the curve in terms of that stuff.
Big time, man. And no one was able to prepare for what we did because we'd have 4 or 5 wide receivers and we would not stop as far as no huddle. And, we just racked up tons of yards because we just get everybody on their heels. They really didn't know how to defend us. And nowadays, so many teams, even at the high school level, throw the ball all the time. So it's a different game now, but you're right. We were ahead of the curve back in the day.
Yeah. So I have a question. So how do you end up convincing your dad to let you play baseball?
Well, he knew I loved it. He wasn't going to take anything away from that, and he knew that longevity-wise, baseball is a good option. You don't get banged around as much, and he knew how much I loved it. I mean, many a day that he throw me BP, and stuff growing up. So, he just knew I liked it both. I mean, I played basketball too, and he did take basketball away from me my junior year. He's like, you're not playing your last 2 years of high school. So I played point guard up until my junior year, and then at that point I had to stop. But he really liked the baseball because he knew, there's a lot of longevity in it, and you don't get pounded on, and it's a very much easier on the body. It's a long, grueling grind, but it's a lot easier physically on the body than the NFL, and so that he liked me doing everything. He thought there was a lot of crossover too in sports, for athletes, kind of like Mahomes now. I mean, you see him do things that a Derek Jeter would do, or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, playing other sports definitely helpful, and having that ability to develop different muscles and skills in different sports is definitely a good thing to have.
No doubt. I think there's a lot of crossover, even in basketball. I mean, if you understand how to, handle the ball and get it out and different things like that. It's kind of like being a point guard now with the way these RPO offenses are. And you look at, the guys that are doing it at a real high level in college and the NFL, even, Kyler Murray this year and Deshaun Watson several years ago at Clemson and Russell Wilson with these RPOs. It's like they're point guards. They can beat you with their feet. They can drive. They can dish. They can drive. They can throw deep. I mean, there's so many components to what they bring to the table because they're just athletes. And so it's like a point guard almost on the football field.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about going to the MLB draft and getting drafted in the first round. You're the 5th pick overall in the '94 draft. So we'll talk about your decision and starting out in baseball, and I guess you mentioned your dad saying it's definitely easier on the body, so does that kind of play a part in you deciding to start off with baseball?
Well, to be honest with you, I was, I'd signed to play LSU out of high school my senior year, but baseball and football, and there was a legendary baseball coach, Skip Bertman, who has won a ton of national championships, and they were just coming off the national championship year. The year before I signed at LSU, and there was an opening at shortstop, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to LSU, play shortstop, and then walk across the Tiger Stadium and try to play quarterback. So my mind was really focused on, it's 50-50, and they didn't have a quarterback returning either at LSU, so it was a perfect situation for me to step in as a freshman. And then my senior year, my senior year of baseball, I really played well the second half of the season, and scouts were showing up like crazy. And my agent was a guy, chosen agent, Jeff Morad, out of Newport Beach, California. He was with Steinberg, so it was Steinberg and Morad, and legendary agents. I mean, the first real Star Wars agents. The movie Jerry Maguire was based on their firm, but so they had the baseball and the football side of things, but Morad came down to my hometown and said, I want to represent you. And he represented so many Major League Baseball players at the time. He goes, well, I'm going to see if I can get you positioned properly to get the most ever sign-in bonus in the history. Because you're football leverage, I think we can do it. And I said, well, let's go. Let's see what we can do. Yeah. And, I had a good senior year, and then he positioned me where the Marlins drafted me. And it was a good position because they were a new franchise, firstly. So there wasn't a lot of prospects ahead of me in the organization where I could kind of fast-track myself to the big leagues if I were to go that route. And then Wayne Huizinga was the owner, and the late Wayne Huizinga. So Wayne Huizinga drafted me 5th overall at the Marlins back in the day, and I felt like that was going to be my easiest and fastest way to the big leagues, and that was enough for me to bypass college football at the time and college baseball, not knowing that 4 or 5 years later, I would try to go back and play with my brother at LSU. I wanted to concentrate on baseball. Yeah. I had a great signing bonus and, some big league call-ups in my contract, and that was all I needed, man. I really wanted to see what I could do if I could get to the big leagues quick, and I enjoyed baseball so much.
Yeah. So let's talk about your baseball career and how things went. Obviously, you ended up going back to football, but talk about your baseball and how things went there.
Well, yeah, I did try to get fast-tracked, or they tried to fast-track me quick. And, back then, I went to Elmira, New York Penn League, right out of high school. And, you have to adjust to the wood bat, and you got to adjust to the minor league life, and you're playing with, post-college age kids. And so I got shoved into, playing with all the 22, 23, 24-year-olds quick. And it was fun, but it was a struggle in the beginning. I really struggled with the bat, being selective, not trying to do too much.
Talk about that bat. Yeah, the difference with the aluminum and the wood. I hear people talking about it, but what's the big difference?
Oh yeah, there's a big difference because the wood, of course, you don't hit the ball near as far with the wood, but you can get sawed off. You got to be able to handle it. You got to be a man to handle wood, right? I mean, you got to be stronger physically to handle it. Yeah. And if you're not used to it, it's different. The ounce differential is a lot different. It's a heavier bat. Okay. Usually for the length of the bat. It's just different. It's a different feel. It doesn't come off the bat near as well. I mean, if you've never hit with the wood, you really have to be, you really have to be stronger physically. And I was strong for my age. I just, I'm 19 and never swung wooden bats, so it was a little different. I didn't feel like I had the same pop when I first swung it. But but that's everybody. And then I got used to it quick. I think the second year I got used to it, and they told me, man, you're gonna need 1,000 at bats before you really get to where you need to be. Yeah. Yeah, and get used to it. And nowadays, man, the young kids, they're swinging those wood bats in like these leagues at like 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, a perfect game, guys. I mean, they're playing so many games so early now. Like, I got buddies who have 9, 10-year-old kids that are playing 80 games in a summer. It's like, we didn't do that back then. We played 15, 20 games, and that's all we had, Yeah. So the game has changed. These kids are way more prepared now coming into pro ball than I was. I was just a big, strong athlete trying to figure it out, and was real raw. But it was fun, man. I mean, I met so many great people, and I was in A-ball the next year in Kane County, the Midwest League. I think I hit a team record home runs, like a franchise record home runs, but also struck out more than anybody.
Oh no!
So, I mean, I was like a home run or nothing.
Home run or strikeout.
Strikeout or home run. Man, I was like the Rob Deere of the minor league.
Yeah,
I was 19 years old and trying to hit home runs every at bat. I wanted to hit 50 home runs in the minor league. You just don't do that. I think I hit 21, but no one had hit more than 20 ever, for that team and the history. So I was happy with my home runs. I had, I think, 80-something RBIs, which is good. But then I went to AA the next year in 97, and same thing, hit home runs, hit 20 home runs, but struck out a ton at AA, and then I got brought up in 97 at the end of the season, and we got to play in some big league games, and then we made a World Series run, and I was a part of that kind of that team at the end of the season.
Oh, nice.
So I was really lucky in 97 and got a World Series ring. But 98 started opening day for Jim Leland in the big league. Yeah, and then about a month into the season, I got hurt. I got an injury, my thumb on a play at third base. Jeremy Burnitz, who played for Milwaukee, slid over my thumb. There was a throw in from right field. Gary Sheffield threw a ball kind of up the line, and I dove to try to make the tag, and he slid over my thumb, and I was out for like 3 or 4 months after that. So, I came back in the end of the year in AAA and really struggled the last month of the season hitting. And they said, well, we're going to probably put you in AAA the next year, and that's when I decided to go back to LSU.
Yeah.
It was just because I knew I wasn't going to be in the big leagues to start the year off in '99, and my brother was at LSU. He was a receiver.
Okay.
He was all SEC, and I'm like, I want to go back and throw to my brother and see if I can do this football thing. So I just did it.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. So talk about going back to LSU and playing with your brother and your experience back in football. How was the transition going back to football, having not played for a little bit?
Oh man, it was throwing the ball, just naturally throwing and dropping back and all that was fine. It was just putting on the pads, the helmet, doing the off-season conditioning program. Like it was tough, man.
Yeah.
And it was just getting in the huddle and see, LSU at that time was a run dominant team, and it was like completely different than the way I grew up with the shotgun and the 4 and 5 wides. I mean, we were like double tight, 2 tight ends,
Under
2 backs, 1 receiver sets, and it was like going back in time, man. It was like, oh my God, dude, this is not my style of play. I need the wide open, BYU, Miami, Oklahoma offense.
Let me sling it down the field.
And let me sling it down the field. And we didn't have that component, So it was a different deal for me that first year because I had to learn how to just be patient and hand the ball off. And we weren't very productive, and our numbers weren't good, and it was just driving me crazy.
Yeah.
And so that was a very rough part of the first year, and that was with Jerry DiNardo and the old coaching staff. But that second year, Saban came in and changed things up, and he brought Jimbo Fisher in to run the offense, and we started getting in, 3 and 4 wide receiver sets, shotgun, stuff, and then I started to be able to throw the ball more around and have more success.
Well, that's good. So talk about after going back to LSU and finishing up there and going to the NFL and spending time with the Seahawks and starting out there. How things go with their pro football career?
Man, Holmgren drafted me in the 6th round. I thought I was going to be an earlier draft pick, but I had the night before the draft, Jerry Jones had called and said, well, I'm going to draft you in the 2nd or 3rd round. I'm like, dang, that's going to be awesome because Dallas is so close to Shreveport where I grew up.
Oh, yeah.
It's a 2 or 3 hour drive. Yeah, he ended up drafting Quincy Carter that year out of the SEC, out of Georgia. And so he passed. Yeah. He passed me up. It was the year that I got drafted was Vic and Drew Brees and Quincy Carter was in that draft. But yeah, Winky I think was in the draft. Anyways, we had some good players. Jesse Palmer was in the draft. Trying to think of Sage Rosenfels, a bunch of guys. But anyways, once you fall, and once you fall, you kind of start falling. And man, it was the most miserable day ever because I never thought I would fall to 6th round. I thought it was going to be a third rounder at worst, fourth maybe.
Yeah.
And I fell all the way to 6th, and it went to Seattle. And I knew that they just brought in Hasselbeck to be the starter, and I'm like, well, man, I'm going to try to be the backup here. And he didn't play well in camp in the beginning, and Holmgren was like, I got to bring in some insurance, and that's when he brought in Dilfer. And they had already drafted Brock Heward like 2 years before in the 2nd round, and he was there. And so they were trying to trade Brock Heward in the middle of camp, and I would have been fine, but they had a guy named Travis Brown as well. So there's 5 of us in camp, and everybody was competing their butt off, to try to stick around. And
how they managed that with playing time and practice time?
Oh man, it was we didn't get any.
Yeah.
I mean, Hasselbeck got some, and Dilfer got a little bit. Dilfer was just coming off his Super Bowl winning year with Baltimore.
Yeah.
And Baltimore didn't re-sign him. And so he was with us in camp the year after he won the Super Bowl. And we were all going for the, backup jobs. And, it was interesting because Holmgren is he's a good offensive mind, but he's grouchy. And he wasn't happy with the way Hasselbeck was playing when he first got there. And so, he was trying to trade Heward, and then they couldn't trade Heward the week before season starts. So they put me on their practice squad, and I think like 4 or 5 teams tried to claim me, and it was like Dallas, Jacksonville, Cleveland, and you had to go to the team with the worst record the year before, and that was the Browns.
Oh, wow.
So the next day I'm in Cleveland, and Butch Davis was there, and some of his staff had actually recruited me and my brothers at Miami back when they were in Miami, so I was very familiar with even their front office people, because they were all at the University of Miami, and I was real close to maybe going to Miami. So I know a lot of their people, and so I felt at home when I got there. It's just Cleveland's a tough place to play and live now.
Yeah.
Last year was a great year for them, but it been a lot of rough years in Cleveland the last decade or so. So anyways, I was there for 3 years. I backed up Tim Couch, and who was the first pick overall, and then Butch Davis got fired, and we all got released. So, once Romeo Crennel came in, he brought his own people. I think they brought in Jeff Garcia.
Okay, yeah, a lot of turnover definitely in Cleveland. Tough sort of place to play to succeed, but seems like they're finally getting things turned around there. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yep, they are.
All right, so after NFL career, kind of went back to trying to make it into Major League Baseball with making an appearance on the show, the Next Knuckler. Can you talk about how that came about and end up winning that and doing that?
Sure. I got a call from Major League Baseball Network, and they wanted to do their own kind of reality show like The Big Break on the Golf Channel, where they bring in 5 or 6 people, let them compete, and and they decided to do a knuckleball show because R.A. Dickey had just won the Cy Young the year before. And that had never been done before. With the Mets, it had never been done before, being a knuckleballer, and he was the first ever to win it. So they're like, we're going to bring in some of these ex-football players and do a fun reality show, teach them how to throw the knuckleball. It's much more like a short arm motion, like a quarterback. You got to jab, step, and throw it. Your hand has to be out in front of your face. In baseball, when you stride like a pitcher towards home plate, a lot of times your arm is way behind your body. Well, a knuckleballer, their arm catches up with their body. They just have to. You can't get way out in front of it as a pitcher. So they trained us how to throw a knuckleball. And I was the only quarterback that had played, pro baseball and any baseball, so it was like, dude, I had a complete advantage over these guys because, man, I'd pitched in high school and pitched on the Olympic team.
On the show?
It was all football guys, all football guys, all quarterbacks.
Oh, wow.
And like Doug Flutie. Yeah.
Oh,
so
cool.
You got, guys that had played football but were, wanted to compete. And It was fun, man. I ended up winning the show. Got to throw to a lot of big leaguers, even during the show and then after the show to prepare. And I got trained by Wakefield and Charlie Huff. Great dudes. And man, the Diamondbacks signed me to come to camp. And I was throwing 88, 89 my fastball, and then I had this knuckleball that was nasty. But it's hard to throw it for strikes, and that's the key. Is sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. You just don't know where it's going. Yeah. So, anyways, the most nervous I've ever been in my life on a sports field was when I was pitching, and I pitched against the Giants, and they were just coming off their World Series win the year before, so it was like Bruce Bochy and the Giants, the world champs, and they run me out there in spring training game, and I'm on the mound throwing a 67 mile an hour knuckleball that I hadn't thrown for about 2 months, and man, it was nerve wracking because it's like you just throw it and hope that it moves, and they swing and miss it, because if it's not moving, dude, it's gonna get crushed. Yeah, it's like BP softball, Yeah. So I'm like, but it went well. I mean, I pitched 3 innings, 3 different outings. I walked like 6 guys, which wasn't good, but man, I had like 4 or 5 strikeouts. I mean, no one had an extra base hit against me. Like it was moving. It just, it's hard to control. And they said, well, we're going to put you in Double-A, and then they found out that the Marlins had my rights from 15 years before. Oh, wow. And said so they called the Marlins and said, what do y'all think? Will y'all let him go? And the Marlins like, no, we ain't going to let him go for nothing. Maybe some cash or something, a small amount of cash. And Arizona's like, well, we're not paying for this knuckleball guy that's 38, 39 years old. So Wakefield's is like, just have them release you, and then I'm going to try to get something going with a warm weather team where, in Arizona, wouldn't be a good knuckleballer's park because the air's thin. You want to be in a humid climate so the ball it cuts against the humidity of, it's just a different pitch. So, the weather has a lot to do with how good and effective that pitch can be. So anyway, so Wakefield said he's going to try to do that, and then we called the Red Sox and tried to work a deal, but they had a knuckleballer in their system that is now in the big leagues. He was in AAA at the time, and so it just kind of fell through. I didn't pursue it like crazy. It's a pitch where when you're pitching, you've got to have a catcher, you got to keep your arm in shape, you got to work on it every day. And I was like, man, I ain't sitting around and throwing knuckleballs all day, every day. It's like that was my shot. If it didn't work out, then I wasn't going to do it. So, a month or 2 after spring training, I just kind of let that dream go and began to do my, my work stuff. So I got out of baseball, but man, I enjoyed that little fun time for sure.
Yeah, that definitely been a lot of fun being able to go back and try a new thing, being a pitcher and succeeding in winning the show and getting another chance. That was been an exciting time for you.
Yeah, it was. It was fun, man. But maybe one of the funnest things, but it was nerve-wracking too.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. All right, so let's talk about what you're doing now and life after sports and what you kind of transitioned into.
Oh man, I have a consulting development business, marketing type of business where I help startups, kind of with business development things. So I raise capital for startups. I'd also do a lot of radio, and I have my own podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, which is really the nation's #1 podcast network for sports. It's BLEAV, Believe Podcast. I do the LSU and SEC podcast, and you'll see that in the fall and during football season more than now. But I do 2 or 3 national radio shows. And then, I bounce around, man. I'm in oil and gas and healthcare and gaming and different things. And so I've kind of got little bitty pieces of a lot of different types of businesses. And I'm in New York all this week. I leave tomorrow to go there, but work with a stem cell clinic up there and a big insurance firm. So I just do a whole lot of different things.
Dabbling in a lot of different things. That's good. Yeah, being diversifying and being in things definitely helps. Is a good thing to do for sure.
Yeah, man, I enjoy it, and it keeps me it keeps me busy, and I like change and travel and stuff. So I enjoy it for sure. It's almost like minor league baseball all over again, man, or pro baseball. You get to a different city every week.
Always on the road.
It's fun. Yeah.
All right, so let's just finish off with what I call the top of the mountain moment. So kind of looking back on your professional career and your journey to where you're at now, going through all the things you've gone through and all the ups and downs and the valleys. Is there like a favorite story or a favorite moment or advice for younger players trying to do the same thing? What would you like to?
Yeah, I mean, whatever you do, your heart definitely has to be in it, and that's what I have told Kyler Murray in this whole deal, and done a lot of. I was at Radio Row and at the Super Bowl, and a lot of people asked me, the baseball or the football, and I had options, and how hard is it to make decisions, and which one should he do, and why did I choose what I chose, and I just went with my heart, man. I didn't know how it would play out. I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know anything. There is no, you don't really know, you don't even know who you're going to get drafted by. You don't even know who your coaches are going to be once you get to the pros. And so, you just got to make the most of every opportunity that you can, maximize it, giving yourself the best chance. And maybe I wish I would have played only one sport, but I have a unique story, that I'll be able to tell for a long time, that I was able to be in 2 professional sports leagues and see it both and see how they operate. And I enjoy sports. Man, I'm a sports nut. I watch every sporting event known to man on TV. That's all I think about is sports. But, I just think for kids, it's like you got to go, if you're going to choose one, do what you want to do the most, because when you wake up in the morning and you go working out or you go train and you go get, catch ground balls or hit BP or stay in the film room and getting ready for football. I mean, there's just so much to the different sports, and you better be willing to sacrifice it all for that sport, or you won't go very far. You won't get to your potential, because it's just such a difficult road. I mean, the kids don't understand how tough it really is. I mean, I do some agent stuff. I've done some agent work too, and I in baseball recently, and I was in the Cape Cod League, which is the nation's premier summer league for college players. And even if you look at those guys, they think they're something. They got to the Cape Cod League and they're the best of the best or whatever. But even like 5% of those guys make it to the big leagues. It's like 95% of those college all-stars don't even make it. You know what I'm saying? So so let's not get too caught up in how sweet you are in Cape Cod. Like you still got a long ways to go, So it's like, especially in Little League, if you're the best Little Leaguer, that's awesome. But man, there's a lot of work to be had, and to get done. I help coach at Cornerstone Christian in San Antonio. My family has a private Christian school there, and my nephew's a sophomore quarterback, and he's getting recruited by a lot of people. But I tell him, hey, get better every day, because there's another 5,000 high school quarterbacks that would love to be you or to get that scholarship. So you just got to work hard every day and sell out to your craft, and have that mentality.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. You got to work hard and put in the effort and put in the work to get to accomplish the dream that you had for the end. So you can't just dream.
You do. You really do.
Yeah.
If you don't wake up every day and think about your sport, if you think you want to be an athlete, or you waking up in the morning and they're saying, I got to get better at this. Is it something you're super passionate about? Because if you're not super passionate about it, you ain't gonna make it to the big leagues or the NFL. No, you ain't got a chance unless you eat, sleep, and breathe it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Josh, so I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. I love your story, being
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, one of the 2 sport athletes that people don't talk too much about. But, you made it to the big leagues and the NFL, and it's an awesome story. And as a sports fan, I just want to say thank you for coming on, and just wish you continued success in your business endeavors. And I'll definitely have some links to what you're doing now in the show notes, so if you want to hear your podcast or to see what you're involved with, I'll have links in the show notes for them to click on.
Yeah, send those to me, and like I said, I appreciate you calling, and Anytime, man. Anytime you need anything, let me know.
I appreciate it, Josh. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to After the Gridiron. If you're a fan of the show, please make sure you subscribe to the show and also leave a rating and review. By doing that, you also help spread the word about the podcast and assist others in finding the show, so more people can enjoy this great content. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, with the links to those being found on the website. Your support is very much appreciated. Also, please visit the resources page on the website for links to our sponsors and affiliates. Your support helps to keep the show running, so go to www.atgridiron.com/resources to check them out. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you when we kick off our next episode.